direction and stuff. In fact, I put on tonight some topics to start talking about some things.
Yeah. Get moving to get time.
Disclaimer, I'm really tired today, but I'm here and I'm not brain dead, just super tired.
What's on your agenda?
Oh, I had a skin biopsy on what she thinks is a little non-life-threatening skin cancer tumor, so she took it off yesterday, and I've been wearing it for a week.
Like I said, one a year.
My parents had one on her ear. It's right on my
The
yeah. But actually, there's a little sore over there today, but tolerable, fine. It's a little spot. It looks like a pimple that's been there for like a year.
Well, I think I've had, I don't know whether it's 7 or 8 now, Mohs surgeries.
Yeah.
Well, close to starting, but we actually have a public hearing tonight.
Hopefully, I'm here.
So we kind of need Lenny to start that. I like your final line of that email. Perhaps we should look for some way to get this process completed that doesn't rely on the scarce volunteer resources that we have.
Yeah, I think if you read the comprehensive plan, it's been revised a couple of times with some company, market research or something like that. I don't remember what the name of it is. It's in the plan, it's in the comprehensive plan. So there are companies out there, probably Southern Regional Planning Commission would help with alternatives.
Yeah, I like the idea of outsourcing.
It's way too much for one person to take on.
Yeah.
Although it probably requires some citizen participation.
All the people opposed to the subdivision holding a separate room over there because they were a little bit boisterous. Okay. We'll start the public hearing for the Grand Lane subdivision. So, probably the way we do public hearings, Lenny, is we just have the applicant give a quick overview of the key points and the major things that you've gotten done in here, the selection of water table survey, stuff like that, and particularly for the folks that were at the sidewalk and stuff. So why don't you go ahead and do that?
Sure. So our proposal is tree lot subdivision, and we started that packet there. So we have our applications for each septic and the system is in there. So obviously land as well. And then outside of that, we have all of our plumbing permits, roof permits, everything that we submitted to the town for the utility companies, CMG. I also reached out to a third party, a geologist regarding some of the questions of drainage and things of that nature. And he has agreed to, if anybody has any specific questions regarding that, more than happy to answer those. So we finalizing information, if that's the case, but, he did mention that the BH2N obviously survey that's in this packet will, should hit all the high points and everything that's, requested for the mud subdivision.
What was my last name again?
Benson.
I have a question for the board on this. As I looked at Lenny's, application, which is more information than I've ever seen from anyone ever before, with all the permits, if in the future, Lenny wants to put up a garage, does he have to come back to the planning board to do that? Or a shed?
I think my gut reaction to that is he would have to do what he needs to do with West for the building permit for that structure, but a garage or a shed does not count as another lot or another residence. You know, I think that's, Don, isn't that what it's either a residence, living quarters, or a lot that is in the definition for, you know, counting whether it's a major or minor subdivision.
I have a serious question about that. It's northern, isn't it? Three blocks, 3 dwelling units.
Dwelling units, yeah.
But it's another way it reads for minor than it's either or.
Yeah.
And the way I read it would be the most severe.
Yeah. So a garage or a shed is neither a dwelling unit nor a lot. So I don't see it impacting the subdivision application.
No, not the project.
Okay, I just had that question. I looked at a very stark outline of where it's going to put the buildings and everything, and said, people end up having a garage and a shed.
If the garage has a parking above it, then you're in major subdivision territory. Now, okay. Any other questions as part of the public hearing, or should I close the public hearing and move on to the planning board meeting? Okay, hearing none, the public hearing is closed. And we'll start at about 7:07, 7:08. We'll start the planning board meeting for the 23rd of September. So what we need to do at this point is just check off, the key aspects of what Lenny has accomplished in accordance with Article 6 of the minor subdivision, so that we can get to a point where we can vote on the minor subdivision. And Wes, one of the things I wanted to check is that it says that Lenny paid $150 permit fee. However, all application for a final plan for a minor subdivision shall be accompanied by a non-refundable application of $300 per lot or acre, whichever is greater. So, how many,
I took care of that, that's one of the other.
When you hear that,
okay, you wrote the check, you got that, you took care of that? Okay, great. And, I think we were all in agreement that we don't need a, special account designated, to hire an independent consultant. I believe we've determined that the application is complete. And, we're supposed to notify you of that in writing. It's complete. Like a public hearing. So, got the application, the form, the location map is in there, the final plan is in there, the proposed name of the subdivision, you've got the, rights, title, and interest in the property in here, and I believe you have the standard boundary survey of the, parcel in here, the recorded deed, I know you had the sewage disposal, plan here from Harris, right? Yeah. And, this was a key thing that we talked about last time, was the subsurface water disposal systems. So that's a check, indication of the type of water supply systems to be used. Okay, and then this is the one Joe brought up last time, high-intensity soil survey by a certified soil scientist, wetland areas identified on the survey. We saw them on the survey, and we, particularly looked at them when we did the site walk. I know we talked about during the site walk, the flow of, any wastewater away from, the pond and things like that. Number of acres, property lines, sites, and the rivers, streams, and brooks. Talked about specifically the width and location of any streets, public improvements, or open space. And Joe made a point to keep, any, driveways 10 feet from the property line, for, what was that guy's name?
Gordon Milliken rule.
The Gordon Milliken rule?
Yes.
Got the hydrogeologic assessment. type of vehicular traffic is not a concern, so we don't need any, trip generation rates or anything like that. There's not more than 40 parking spaces and more than 400 vehicle trips per day. Now, the hydrogeologist, does this include a stormwater management plan?
So that the H2M, topography map at the end there is all that stuff. In the larger version, we're seeing the notes on that to the extent of the H2M, do the job of breaking down all that stuff as well, so the same on the notes is the same. Yeah, sorry, I'm done.
just checking for which note that is.
That cut from the San Juan Woods, drawing. Did you get that west?
Here's your certificate of compliance with subdivision and shoreline zoning requirements. Why don't you just point out first the notes on the stormwater management plan, so we're sure we take those boxes. It must be in this little, that is too small for you.
I'm seeing the septic, lots of stuff about septic, but
Do you have a full-size roll-up of that?
I don't have a copy of that. That was given, I got this from actually the town here. That's when I got a copy of this, from the approval. It's, number 19, and then also 18, I believe, shows, some of those breakdowns, but, 14 references the soil mapping is shown from the Cumberland County, so it's just that from the Cumberland County, show those maps there. And then I believe 19, I think that's it, and 19 shows where is your approved for A and B, I guess the soil survey and kind of off, which, this all came from the Cumberland County Registry.
So basically, you're piggybacking on the same.
That's correct. Yeah,
Work.
yeah, because it was already done, yeah.
Which all of this was looked at during the
Correct.
San Juan Woods, subdivision, which we have already been through. What's the location and method of disposal for land clearing and construction debris? What are you gonna do with, all of that,
anything that's cut down or all that stuff. Actually, I haven't, done much right now, we haven't currently have a full load of logs, just kind of stacked in our property, so, we'll probably, I think there's a couple of guys in Farm Wood who are gonna donate those, so any logs and stuff like that, anybody in Farm Wood in the town is gonna reach out to, they, like a general assistant, maybe if they're interested, they could jump in wood, maybe come and grab it, stuff like that.
Is San Pond 10 acres? I've asked this question before. That's why you've got a state, wetland there. Right? So it is a good pond.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah. That means we cannot waive any of this water stuff. It applies in the subdivision movement. That, because it's in the watershed of the Great Pond, we cannot waive any of this water stuff.
Right, that's why you did have the hydro, that's what you brought up last time, was why we needed the hydrogeologic survey and the stormwater management plan and things like that.
That's just to follow on that. I think my concern was that we showed that there is no drainage on this site going to San Pond.
Right.
Where does the drainage go? Does it go out to the street? Where is it?
They have it up in the street, yeah, that's right.
Is that on there?
It is, yeah, it's on that map, you'll see that too. And that's exactly what Mark said, he said, the geologist who I had third party look at this, even though BHUM had this approved and put this together. He basically said that this map is clear, that the drainage ends up heading towards the road, so.
Yeah, I'm looking for that, but I can't read it.
We should have, that blow up, I'm sure, in the planning board room somewhere, since that's a BH2M from San Pond Woods. So.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Or it's 11, it's 11.
Do you need to look at it?
We looked at it on the sidewalk, we're trying to find it on the.
I don't think so. I think we're covering ground that's already been covered and approved when we approved San Pond Woods, so. And as an added measure, when we had, the water specialist, person come out, make sure that they do the report. I don't know that we have approved subdivisions with conditions, but I don't see why we can't put conditions on a subdivision CUP, your approval the same way we do on a CUP. So the one, item I particularly want to call out is that, it will list as a condition for the approval of the subdivision is that, there's nothing in here really covers that. And that is that the driveway that you cut into Route 107 is filled in and revegetated, and then you get a sign on it that says, "How's this located?" Sure.
Just come with that.
Yeah, no,
I guess it's right.
so that is how all this got started. That gets cut in, so we want to put a condition in there that the driveway gets filled in and revegetated.
And which is that one thing is, if during construction, the septic field and septic units are gonna be right there, so it'll be pretty easy to have the dump trucks come in and out on that right there. Cause it's gonna be, the septics are all gonna be close to the road, and we can just access after the construction. And it'll fill it in for sure, with that, absolutely.
All I heard was that you're gonna fill it in for sure, but that's fine.
That's good.
it's interesting, the contour map has the drainage, it basically says it's flat. If the drainage goes any direction, it's probably sort of draining, but I would interpret this as saying flat.
Probably go straight down. All sand there, probably go straight down.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a huge fill up.
Yeah.
So, we have gone through all of the, review items for a minor subdivision. So I just want to give, Don a chance to, he just got that hard copy there. Do you have any other questions?
I have a few questions. So going back to the minor subdivision, 3 lots or 3 dwelling units, is that what we're doing?
3 lots, yeah.
How many dwelling units?
So it's, dwelling units, I think it's specific for each lot.
How many dwelling units total on the minor subdivision?
There will be 4 total, yeah.
I think that's major.
Say that again.
I think that's major subdivision.
I think we should get clarification from the state, maybe, for sure.
Didn't we get clarification on that?
So what was that clarification for units are okay?
Yeah. 3
Why?
lots.
It's 3 units
Or,
3 lots.
right, and he's doing 2 lots.
Right, so suppose I wanted to put 3 units on each lot, could I?
Well, there's other rules to take.
I mean,
He can do 2 dwelling units per lot, that's what's legal. And you can have 3 lots.
so we could have a total of 6 units on 20.
Because he is saying he will probably come back to us and ask for something to be done with that 3rd lot.
Yeah, as of right now, I have 0 plans for the remaining parcel right now. And if I did.
So we're looking at 4 units.
Currently 4 units, yeah, up to 4 units, yeah.
So the lesser of the worst case, the lesser of the 2 cases applies.
It doesn't say whichever is more, whichever is less, it's just an either or criteria. Otherwise, it would say like other places where it says whichever is greater, whichever is less. But it's just 3 lots or.
Yeah, and so we did get a reading on this, and word came out, as we made it very clear to Lenny that the next time he does anything with, any of the, lots or adding any, the dwelling units, it's gonna put it into the major subdivision.
So we're gonna put a condition in here, saying a maximum of 4 dwelling units in this minor subdivision.
I don't know if we can do that.
That's 6, right? 2, 4, 6.
Not in a minor subdivision, once you go over 5, it's a major subdivision, so this approval is for a minor
3
subdivision.
lots only,
So
yeah.
there's gotta be a condition here, which makes that clear, that how many dwelling units he can put on, can he put
Unfortunately, it's permissible use for each lot.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, we can put a condition in there that just says that, it's actually gonna be a repeat of what's in the subdivision ordinance, that once you, go over a combination of, dwelling units and lots, that you get to 5, then, you're in a major subdivision.
I think we're just gonna have it today. Today, I'm requesting 3 lots, that's it, and then for each lot, there is permissible use for us to have permit up to 2 total lots.
I understand the risk.
Yeah, so 3 lots.
As well as stated that you can have 4 dwelling units.
On 2 separate lots, though, it's not on a single lot.
In the minor subdivision.
Correct, yeah. I think we can get clarification from the state again, if that's what we need. I think that's.
I have a question, is it more on the 3rd lot?
Not unless we go, not unless he, comes back to us, and we review it as a major subdivision.
Can he put it?
He can't even put one house on the remaining lot.
That's my correct thought.
A single, no, it's
Yeah,
for
no,
ordinance. When you put another dwelling unit on this,
Third lot.
yeah,
So the third lot is the same thing,
Then the plan is right now.
Unless it comes back.
and it'll be nature.
Yeah, their lot stays vacant unless he comes back to us, for a major
So
subdivision.
can we make that clear in conditions?
Sure. And that's just the clarifications that are in the subdivision ordinance. Article 9, is pretty clear about that too. If the revision involves the creation of additional lots or dwelling units, the procedures for preliminary plan approval shall be followed. And then we just go back to our definitions for, the subdivision type. But it's fine to add it as a, if you add any dwelling units, on any of the lots, then, go back to preliminary plan approval and it's not going through the boxes for a major subdivision.
Yeah, I think the clarification is that 3 lots is what we're conditioning for right now, and then permissible use is up to two units before anything is done on a single lot.
Or 4 total on the subdivision.
Say that again.
Or 4 dwelling units on the subdivision.
Nope, that is not how
I
it
got
reads.
it.
No, yeah, I know that's what you're asking for, but it's not how it reads in the statement, well, that's what I'm telling you. I think we can get clarification for sure, and we've gotten clarification in the past. So 3 lots is the designation of what I'm requesting for, I'm not asking for units right now. I have currently applied for permits that allow me, within the permissible use, to get up to 2 dwelling units on one single lot, which is a buildable lot, and it's not fine.
There's 3 lots.
I'm asking for 3 lots, that's correct. That's all I'm asking, I'm asking for 3 lots, with those conditions. 3 lots. Because I have, at this time, my position is that I got no.
Again, points out the need for a subdivision inventory, for the code enforcement officer, and with each subdivision, a list of conditions. Because Wes might not be the code enforcement officer, not sitting in all these meetings, that highlight the various issues, and someone comes along and says, I want to put 2 dwelling units on this 3rd lot, and not know that you just don't issue them a subdivision thing, send them back to the planning board. So, but I think your point is good,
I would agree.
and it's the same reason
We need to look at that as we go back to
it's the same reason we've gotten into the grant lane issue.
but I think that's something that the board should
Yeah.
have a good serious debate about. See if we need to beef up or clarify.
Sure.
When we go back through the subdivision.
Yes.
This is one of the ones I want to focus on.
Yes,
I think it needs to be clarified.
it does.
All right, second question is, how many septic fields or systems are going to be used?
So there's gonna be 2 for 2 septic sewage fields.
All right, now this piece of paper I have here says it approves for 1 dwelling unit.
There should be another one there.
You got 3 included?
Nope, there should be 2 in there, yep, there are no.
This says that it's good for, 1 dwelling unit, 3-bedroom dwelling.
Oh, I'll make you the updated one, I apologize, if that's what.
That's what it says. Yep.
Yeah, if that's the way.
For 4 dwelling units, this does not gonna make it.
Yeah, I have a revised, yep, absolutely.
I'm just saying, this doesn't make it.
Yeah, this is single family.
We'll see that addressed.
Yeah, we've gone through a couple of changes for sure. Yep.
John, in the email that came to us with the details of the application, you will find there are 2 septic permits.
Okay, but this says for 1 dwelling unit,
Each one is for 1 dwelling unit.
that's 2. we have four dwellings.
Oh, I see what you're saying now.
Right now.
Okay.
So that's
Only two dwelling units are built
correct.
right now.
Yep,
Right?
that's right, that's correct.
So,
But I have an updated one, that shows
Should
that.
have four septic systems in addition to what you have now?
No, sir, just one.
That's my question.
Oh, just one more from what I have right now.
This doesn't make it. Really different.
One,
So that's a single family.
one,
Single family, 3-bedroom dwelling. So this,
Yep, yeah, I might put it in the wrong one, I apologize,
I'm
so,
saying,
yeah, I'll
but
update
I
it.
have something.
Sure.
Uh,
Don, did I run you the wrong way or something?
I know, I just,
Are you on
I
something?
think you got some fairly obvious, and you say so.
No.
Okay, fine. We know personality here, I'm just throwing out the fact that I see here. Let's leave it like
I
that.
mean, I'm asking for the most compliance, you know, I ask for.
Fine, take my comment as a comment. All right, the board can make their own decision, what they want.
I'm asking you a question. We ain't got, all I'm doing is submitting, I'm trying to be as compliant as possible, I'm not trying to stir the boat or anything like that. If you don't like roads, it doesn't.
I'm here to make sure that the job is gonna work in this part,
I've got,
That's my job.
I've got no rock on turn. I've got no rock on.
We don't need to argue. I don't need to argue.
I know that Lenny, I'm looking at the packet that came through the PDF today. I
Yeah.
want to check the big map, but if we need additional certification,
Or the new system, whatever.
then I'll reach out to you, we'll let you know that this is inadequate.
Yeah, and I do apologize, if that did get stuck in there, Don, I do apologize, but we do have the septic, permit, and the sticking that we're gonna do.
That's fine. This is looking at the stuff.
yeah,
We don't need to get a person like this.
Well, it sounds like a personal dig at me, I mean, I'm trying to do everything I can to comply, I'm slowly getting jobs, I'm letting it walk.
Let's move forward.
It's just,
Let's move forward.
so I was wondering, I'm confused now by all that's been going on. And I'd like to ask Lance if what we've got is what we need on the septic permit. Because Wes, that's his job, that's what he knows, not me, I don't know.
That's a good point, yeah.
When they came to me to execute a permit to build, I could not get out a building permit unless a septic system design had to be completed, so that was one of the, building permit, so in the file, there is one.
So it's adequate for his buildings.
Yes, the septic system should, show the size of the leach field to match how many bedrooms it's going to serve.
This says duplex with 6 total bedrooms, so that's the one building. So I think this is construction in the regulation that it's talking about. Duplex with 6 total bedrooms, because 3 bedrooms on each side. So there'll be one system for the duplex, which is built now, and we'll go to the next duplex, it's not built.
Three bedrooms and 6 bedrooms, and the leach field will serve both. So,
My question is,
gallons.
we wanted to be short.
I want to see both septic systems.
We had a built the rest for.
Correct.
Yeah, I got it, and I apologize,
We had one, we just used those.
you got it, I got that one.
We're looking at the one that's dated 6/6/20.
I'm going with Wes on this. If Wes says the septic permit is good, then I'm happy.
Do we have a requirement though that the application packet, when we finish complete, when we vote on it, that it has the actual documents in it?
Well, I've never seen a septic permit come before us before.
Okay. So you might have in your file.
I should have in the file.
Okay.
Yep. And, just off the lane, the two duplexes have 3 bedrooms each, so that's 6 bedrooms, so each field has to be built to accept 6 bedrooms,
Right.
90 gallons per bedroom, so 6 times 9 is 36, so 360 gallons per day. Just
Yes. And it says 90 gallons per bedroom each day. 540 gallons per day. On the ones that we have in email version.
I appreciate you both letting me speak to the fire. I've always found people with shaved heads to be particularly sketchy So, you know, we gotta make sure that he's not getting away with anything.
Next question.
And just not, you know, some of the stuff I don't understand, so you add so much to the capability of the planning board with your experience in looking at these things, so really, love your questions.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You got some more?
What happened with, Brandon? Is there any improvements going on in that?
That's where we are gonna make the, a condition for the fill-in and revegetation, or is that?
Well, that was the driveway, so,
Driveway,
you mean Brent Lane itself?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know that, didn't you say, Lenny, that you spent quite a bit of money with Steve Estes
Yeah.
to, bring, Grant Lane up to, Town Sanders, but it is not gonna be a town road, right? It's a private road that, Lenny, as the, owner, and lessor of the subdevelopment is going to, maintain.
So the question becomes, we had another, application in before us for the road yard, which has also access in that road, right? Right? Didn't we have that? Yeah, right.
I believe, Weston is the boatyard right on the other side of Great Plains.
And I think they were saying, if we didn't commit, they could access directly off the main road. We said it had to come off the Grand Lake. So it's a shared, it's gonna be a shared road between Lenny and, Moran.
and there's a person that lives.
And there's a person that, yeah, so how is all that going to get?
I haven't seen any documentation, but Fertel owns all that land. And last year we decided that Grant Road and Bryant Road divided land so that there were separate entities of other lots. Now, Grant Road was built a long time ago to serve the town as San Juan Road, but it came through Fertel's land. So Fertel, looked somewhere in the deed, had the right of way established there since he owned land on both sides. Now, I'm going to assume since he at one time owned that land on both sides, each other lot owns the middle of the road.
So,
So half the road goes with Lenny's land.
and the guy who's gonna do the, what's his name, the boatyard guy?
Oh, boy.
Okay, so Mr. Boatyard, does he own that land on the other side of Grant Lane where?
I believe it is the sale and the surveying has gone through, because I think about a month and a half ago, one of the cottage owners who owns land abutting the boatyard lot was asking questions about it, and said, yes, you know, that the other aspect of the other lot, she bought just so it couldn't be developed. So she knows the boundary line, so the boundary line was completed or whatnot, so I think the sale has gone through. The sale has been held up because the surveying was unclear and had not been completed.
Yeah, so I understand that, I know that, and so that was transferred to me in the deed, and the deed, the original DDC, I own it, the easement, I own all of it.
Oh.
So, and a title search revealed that with Mr. Boatyard, I'm sorry.
Boatyard, Mr. Boatyard.
And that came out in his title search, when they performed the title search, is my understanding.
So,
You granted an easement to get on the property.
If he's supposed to be, I most likely will, yep, but I know I've been talking with Mr. Hertel as well, Mr. Hertel has reached back out to me to try and get, permission from me to access that as well. Currently, I own the private land, we're back to the title search. Or I'm interested.
So the deed,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Yep, yeah, that was my understanding of the title search.
your understanding is you own the whole road, is it?
Yes, sir.
It says fence south 634115, continuing along land of the said hotel, and the northerly side line of Grant Road. So that means you own the whole road. Yep. Right.
Yeah, we had a guy doing the research in the office once, and he was telling me about it.
Well, we just have to put that as a tick marker file for when, Mr. Moreno comes back to the boatyard that, in order to get his CUP, part of that will have to be that he has an easement for, access to, on Grand Lane to get into his boatyard.
It sounds,
Yeah, when we started, when we reached out, we had met the family that owns at the end there, where the water is, they seem like very nice family, so. Like cooperating with them, the packets and all that stuff, and it's a nice, fish and all that stuff, so, the.
Right. So, other,
no, I find it very simple and straightforward.
okay. Tracy, any questions?
Nothing wrong.
You good now?
I'd like to see the final,
This isn't, actually, this isn't a CUP.
We're just gonna put a condition, two conditions.
That's conditioned on.
This is the subdivision approval with two conditions.
Yep.
Okay. So, at this time, we'll, get a hold of vote on, approval of the Grand Lane subdivision.
With the two conditions.
Yes.
Do you want to read out those two conditions? Could you do that?
Did anybody turn the camera on?
The two conditions, they're going to be that the driveway cut in to Route 107 will be filled in and revegetated as needed, and that will be Lenny's responsibility. And the second condition is that if any additional buildings or any additional dwelling units are going to be built on that third lot or more, it would put Lenny into the major subdivision category. You'd have to return to the board and initiate the major subdivision process.
So with those two conditions, I move we approve the subdivision.
All in favor, second? All in favor? You vote no.
Okay, so I just want to jot down my notes that Joe made the motion with the condition. Sorry, this is just my motion, and the second was that you, Matt?
I seconded it.
Okay, all in favor,
All in favor?
and opposed, it was.
And Don, just for the record, could you clarify the reason that you were calling?
So there were several questions in the range, which I didn't feel we could get good answers to. One was, the septic issue was a condition, I would love to see additional information on that. The whole issue with the subdivision, I'm not personally in agreement with that interpretation of, what my interpretation is.
Perfectly honorable to disagree. No problem.
I just want to make sure we're clear on that and have it on the record, because, what it really means is that we as a planning board have some work to do. Very good. So, Lenny, congratulations, you, we have a quorum, and, 3 out of 4. So the subdivision is approved with those conditions, and now what we need is a certificate of occupancy.
You're basically going to get
Whether it's qualified or not.
Marriage, yes, sir.
Okay.
Wes, do you, I should have asked, do
The only significant item that happened in the past week, dealing more with the selectmen and planning board is our resident, over on 79 Kitchen Road has moved out. No longer 79 Kitchen Road.
I hope we didn't move out to another place in Baldwin.
We did.
Yeah, closer to you.
Oh, thank you.
Darren Blake said they dropped an air conditioner in his front yard.
What?
I shouldn't have went.
This is the guy with the trailer.
Can I ask where he moved to?
They moved to the old house on Dearborn Road that a couple of people lived in 2 years ago. And so, he has his house at 112 Douglas Hill Road.
We get tweakers
So it's
around, you know,
it's a rundown house, but there's a bell, has not had experience, needs to go through.
net,
We'll see if we want to get acted up to make it a little more durable.
trust,
Oh,
net,
that's it.
so I associate that with 79.
What? I know that when we have a CUP form, we sign the CUP form for approval. What do we do with the subdivision? Do we have to sign anything? Or, I mean, when we saw the Firefly Lane, I mean, you know, that was approved, that had your signature, and other people on the,
So it's he's required in the application to have a survey. And so he submits the survey to us, and we sign the survey with his plan, his survey plan. And we sign that, and we put the conditions, we write them on the survey plan.
I saw they were, here's the data for the hearing, but this is the CUP.
Yeah, my daughter-in-law was home alone, and I think we came up the driveway, she's way up the street. And, you know, wanted to know, was she alone, and so was her husband. If I'm getting it, you know, a tweaker, you know, somebody with scabs and scratching. You're walking all the way, they walk incredible distances, and they're, I don't know.
We're gonna go ahead and ride the tire around, all the, surfboard with just one tire on it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's visiting the house.
Sort of like a unicycle.
Yeah.
And
we're gonna keep that, when we
sure. Whatever you want. I'm not.
So we get, maybe we just like plan in order to, so that no one starts to interest that. Thank you.
And so, well, somehow we should have a copy of that, and he should have a copy of that. And what we have done with other people is we have said, Lenny, can you get us a copy of this back?
You got it. Absolutely.
Thank you. Probably 2 copies, so the planning board has one, and the code enforcement officer has one.
Absolutely.
Good.
You want me to have Danielle shrink this signed copy down?
I want to worry about that. Give it to, Lenny, because he may need it for banks or whatever, and let him do the copying.
Okay. Please go ahead. And, we'll get to, I'll give you guys a copy of this.
What you do need to do is attach the conditions
Okay, so
to that.
I'm gonna break them. Okay.
Good.
I'm gonna give you the 2 conditions and we're gonna attach them to that. But, we'll do that when we finish talking.
Okay.
can I do these with Wes, or do you guys want me to leave them in your office, or what?
Just leave them with Wes. He will get our copy to us and he
We'll
will.
get you.
You guys, okay.
All right. Thank you all for doing that. Thank you, Lenny, for, all of the, work you did to get the, package together and,
Yeah, thank you guys for your time, I appreciate it, and your cooperation.
yeah. Super good.
I don't know if this help, I took this off the state website, so this additional reading would be, so it is, thank you guys. Good.
Take care, man.
Have a good night.
Right.
Yep, updated us on page one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the trailer down there, anything else going on, Wes?
No. I mentioned to you about a month ago that the water tower down with people, what's it called? We're having a get-together, it would be an adventure mountain. And the decision is not in the afternoon, go through a CDP for adventure. They held it 2 weeks ago, I forgot all about it, I didn't take a look at it, everything's gone smoothly, nothing happened. So we're done. Nobody fell off the tower. What was that?
Nobody fell off the tower.
Not that bad.
They painted part of it.
It painted it,
Yeah. On the rim.
I asked them why they did it, but this is where they managed to that water tower. They did not have a different plan, it might be a restaurant, it might be a party place and whatnot, and I don't think it can happen. I mean, the state marshal will allow it to happen, it's not safe enough, and it costs probably $100,000 just to bring up the safety, so I don't think it'll ever happen.
Well, it's gonna become colorful.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. It is already a town landmark and it is going to be enhanced. You're good people.
Hopefully they'll put some purple on there. That's my favorite color.
You're nice people.
If you can't tell on that purple pen. Okay, on to the next one.
Okay, so this is just a to-do discussion. There have been a lot of items, more of policy, procedure, and administrative nature that have been, kind of collecting for the planning board. The first is that we obviously, as was demonstrated tonight, we need to make progress on the subdivision ordinance. Don has already done a review of that, and I think we have the time now, since we don't have any more subdivisions or solar farms or anything in front of us, to set aside a certain amount of time every week to get through the subdivision ordinance, so that we have it ready for presentation at the town meeting, for the revised version of the town meeting next March. So I'm going to be a little more diligent in getting that on the agenda, and I'll even specify a certain number of pages that we should get through at each meeting, and I'll send those out ahead of time to the board for everybody to specifically review those pages, so that we can all be in sync on what we need to talk about.
get through all of those changes first. I think that's,
Right.
for that person, and we go on and think deeper into some of the other issues.
Okay.
And I think if we can just resolve on, you know, we do put it in front of us to make some
I'm
decisions.
gonna say that the Board of Selectmen has tried to make your job a little bit easier, so we're gonna give you 2 extra months to work on that.
Is gonna be till about the,
Okay,
Oh,
is it official year?
oh, okay. All right, good.
thank you,
Good.
Selectman.
Thank you. Very magnanimous.
Trying it out.
They just did that for us,
That feels special. Okay, in terms of the land use ordinance, we've got a couple of potential, updates to that. One is medical and recreational marijuana. We have a medical marijuana, set of, statements in there for, medical marijuana ordinance. I don't believe we have anything for recreational marijuana, do we?
I think when we did the medical one, I think we did the recreational one as well. And, it's one,
I thought it wasn't legal yet.
I think one of them is in the land use ordinance, and the other is standalone.
That's, yes,
They should both be rolled into the land.
the
use
retail
ordinance.
is standalone.
I think so. I
The
think
medical, I know, was integrated. Because you were on the planning board when we integrated the medical.
One of them was the MMA, sample, what I would call the, best practices ordinance, and we just got it to be.
They get a new seminar coming out too. You see that, Paul?
Yeah, and the famous sign on.
Yeah, that's October 27th, and Tracy has volunteered to, do that from a, planning board perspective. And I sent an email to Danielle, saying that Tracy was gonna participate, so we have to make sure that Tracy gets her signed up for it, if you have to register or anything.
Yeah. We did.
So, we know we need to update medical marijuana, but we haven't been able to because the state hasn't finalized.
We might find out more on the 27th, which is actually.
Okay. Well, let's just hold, anything on medical and recreational marijuana until after October 27th, when we get the, Bob and Tracy go through the, legal update with the MMA, and then we'll have a clearer picture of what we might need to do with the, ordinances.
I'm not up to date, but I think recreational marijuana is on an individual basis, they can do it in their house. That's it. You can't go break your own house and doing it, recreational marijuana.
I think you can
It's
go,
really isolated to their house.
Yeah.
but the medical cannabis is part of the $10, but it's still on the side there. The other one
So
is.
if somebody came to the town of Baldwin and said they wanted to open up a, recreational marijuana storefront, that actually, I don't think, isn't that controlled by the state? But I know in Portland,
We have an ordinance for it.
they,
We do have an ordinance for it,
okay,
and I believe it says not allowed.
right, because of the vote.
If we were not allowed.
Okay.
Well, I think Wes is correct, if you wanna grow some in your backyard, you're.
Oh, you can.
do that.
That's where we are now, right?
No, we wrote an ordinance.
Okay, so we'll just, wait till after the
have in our ordinance now, deals more with, distributing retail sales and stuff like that. It can only be done in the business zone. So that makes it quite limited. But there's no mention about being a grower, because that's falling under agricultural. However, if somebody grows something, they're gonna wanna get rid of it somehow. So then it falls into a CUP, because you're distributing it, you're being a retailer or something like that. So, it's sort of like a catch-22. You wanna grow it, and it's agricultural, but how are you gonna get rid of it?
Smoking, so you get rid of it.
So usually people wanna grow it, they wanna grow 30, 40 plants like we have over on Harris Road.
Okay. So that's the plan on marijuana. You sent me an article, Bob, on tiny homes, because the governor, approved a regulation on tiny homes.
Yep.
Was it your sense from reading that, from what she did, that we need to revise or integrate something on tiny homes into our land use ordinance?
I think so, because what it allows is another living unit, you know, up to 400 square feet on every house lot. And, there are some stipulations on how you can and cannot regulate that, but the town of Albany does have the ability to do some regulation. So, otherwise, I guess we don't have any rules, we just do whatever they want, right?
I have a question about the solar farms, if we're updating the ordinances, are we going to have, some general include, we talked about that before.
Yeah, I would say that my sense, though, is that, this LD 1312 is gonna get approved in the next legislative session, and it's gonna allow, what they call it, ancillary or every housing unit on every lot. So it's gonna be very similar type of effect, which is double the density. And, you wanna wait and see what happens in a few months.
Yeah, I think the concept there was the first one got shut down because it took too much power away from the municipality. And the hope is that the revised one gives a little more latitude for the towns and municipalities, particularly the code enforcement officers, to place some controls on the addition of accessory dwelling units to existing lots.
Yeah, it doesn't give you the right to turn it down, but it does give you the right to put some conditions on it.
Right.
And one of those being that the owner has to reside in one of them. And there might be some other things, but
We cannot go,
construction type and,
yeah, it has to be on a fixed foundation,
or fixed foundation, or whatever.
something like that.
There are some, but my sense is, and so there was a write-up again in the, monthly about it in there as one that's moving toward approval. Because it was turned out the committee has recommended to approve, and I think the only thing that kept it back was, question about impact on the municipality, the cost to administer. And somebody had a report of $50,000 across the state or something, I don't know, minuscule, you know, it's, but my sense is it's gonna come, but and it's being driven by people who champion affordable housing. So,
Is it, can we, is there anything there that would allow us to zone it for instance, to zone it to, our commercial area?
No,
Just, no.
I mean, you can read it, it's pretty short.
I have read it, but
Yeah, it's pretty short, I mean,
I've recognized that I can read something
Yeah.
like that and not understand it.
yeah, no,
I thought it was a tiny home
Why
thing,
are
that you waived, we had, less than 600 square feet for a house in Baldwin. I thought we'd fall into that, but they kicked that right back to us and told us we ought to be rewriting that subdivision because of the tiny homes can't exceed 400 square feet.
Right.
So, crazy.
Well, I mean, you know, I've spoken before, over the years, about allowing the commercial district 1 acre zoning. Because to me, how you preserve open space in town is by allowing concentration.
yeah,
Uh,
go to Europe, to see it.
yeah, exactly. And,
There'll be a change to 2 acres.
yes, but if it's just opening it up, so essentially we have 1 acre zoning throughout the town.
At least my initial view is that that's probably what we're gonna do.
That's kind of, and
it is-
5 acre zoning in the Highlands.
It doesn't say that we have to have the minimum lot size of 1 acre. But it does say that on any lot, you can put an auxiliary or ancillary housing unit, so it means 2 housing units, and you can place them wherever you need. One of them can be connected to the house, or it can be disconnected, you know, long range interpretation.
If I remember from a long ago meeting of the, comprehensive plan, one of the reasons for 10 acres zoning in the Highlands was it was felt that it was too ledgy above 700 feet to put, septic systems in. I mean, that's another place I want to, something I want to explore.
Yep. These, accessory dwelling units and tiny homes, if they are not attached to the main dwelling unit on the property, do we as a town and the code enforcement officer have the ability to, regulate the, septic, you know, how it gets water, how it does waste disposal and everything? I mean,
To a degree, but it says that you can't prohibit them from using the existing septic system. But that might be an issue because, as we know, septic is designed for a certain number of rooms and stuff. You can't take a septic design for a 3-bedroom house and just add another house to it.
because what we're trying to avoid is shanty towns with just, you know, additional travel trailers on the lot that have, no, connection to, a dedicated septic system or the septic system for the property.
My recollection in the draft was that there were, the town does not have as much leeway with regulating what's inside and whether there's proper septic, but we would in terms of the construction and design standards. So that they have to be on a fixed foundation, you can't just drive it in park, the travel trailer. So I think there's a way to get at what they're talking about, but it might not be the septic design regulation. But that's a recollection of reading the initial proposed version, so it also depends what the, yeah,
No,
but
my
there's.
interpretation is if the septic system is not designed for the number of bedrooms, the town would require a new septic, additional or upgraded.
Probably haven't seen what the state looks from law, but if you have a tiny house and you wheel it around the place and you park it there and do this, it's a trailer, 7 months. And after 30 days, they have to do that, they get to your late. If they back it up, put it on blocks, and take the wheels off, it's fine. The house is well still need septic system with it.
Yeah, and it still says that it has to meet actual fire safety and building code.
Is there a building permit requirement for this?
I don't think a tiny home is a trailer.
There was a thing on TV the other night on tiny homes, you guys see the show on that? They use, chemical toilets quite a lot,
Yeah.
and then they use 5-gallon buckets and sockets to get around some of these, rules. And there's nice little homes that get nice stuff like this. Why would you do that?
That's why I want to know. So, I wonder how we can deny on the Elizabeth and Brunswick
That was one of the.
and those towns that aren't, they're not gonna put up with it. You know, they're gonna find a way.
Towns that already have a school.
Yeah, they're well,
A lot of them are on public toilets and stuff. They're not gonna like it, they have a septic system design. You don't have to look at it.
You know, involved with.
You know, it's funny, if you look at Flint Drive and not people in the street,
isn't it coming from the Wilson County,
Washington or something.
Washington County?
Always like that.
Oh, what tables,
Yeah, I think it's somewhere in the coast, not people from Portland or.
Let's talk about how we want to move forward with the land use ordinance. I mean, we have a plan for revising the subdivision ordinance. In terms of the land use ordinance, we've talked so far about updating it for medical and recreational marijuana when we get more clarity after the 27th. It sounds like after LD 1312 becomes law, we probably want to update the land use ordinance for tiny homes and accessory dwelling units. A number of people have suggested that we incorporate some solar farm ordinances into the land use ordinance. And now, Joe, your comment about the zoning and density of zoning, that's more subdivision ordinance, right?
The comment is irrelevant and withdrawn because we can't do anything about it.
So, in general, do we want to, this is an appropriate terminology, this is an in-house versus an out-house decision. Do we want to, develop these revisions to the land use ordinance over time ourselves as things become clearer, or do we want to engage the services of Southern Maine Planning and Development Corporation or some other external subject matter expert and have them make suggestions to us for our land use changes on these topics? And I would say that we don't seem to get anywhere doing it ourselves.
I think that they are very valuable. They do good writing and they do know what's going on and they're very willing to take direction. So they don't try to force their point of view on us. I've been very happy over the years when we've used Southern Maine Regional Planning. Well, I'm not happy to spend money.
That was my question, do we have a budget for the services?
We do have a budget. We do.
2,000, isn't it? Yeah, and I think you've had one deduction taken out of it, like $266. So you got, I don't know, $750.
And the chief, I don't know if they charge us for a lot of their work. I mean, they, you know, like Maine Municipal is willing to answer questions for free, you know.
No, it ain't free.
Oh, you get charged for asking questions to
Well,
me?
we belong to Maine Municipal.
But there's no per question
No.
charge, is what I mean. We belong to Southern Maine
Yeah.
Regional, we ought to get our money's worth out of it,
Yeah, exactly.
besides the fall.
I think I did spend 1,500 with them last time on the shoreline zoning ordinance, so.
That was the last thing.
Yeah, so it's gonna cost something, but that's okay. I mean, I think it's money well spent.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I would say, we need to include it in the budget. We're right now writing a budget for the first 6 months of next year.
Would it help if,
So if you want to get them on the contract for,
if we contacted Southern Maine Planning and Development Corporation and asked them for a proposal for, a process of, enhancing and updating our land use ordinance for these topics that we're talking about, with the understanding that, you know, we would start working with them, now, but you know, the billing could actually take place, you know, in concert with the efforts. Part of it would come out of the remaining budget that we have now, and then, part of it may come out of the budget for the first 6 months of next year.
I would recommend you talk to them about the, review of the comprehensive plan too.
Okay, all right. Is this something that we need to, have a vote on? Did I contact them?
I think it's a hearing no objections. Go ahead.
All right. I will, contact, what's his name? I'll contact the guy.
LJ,
LJ, yeah.
I don't know if you read the, criteria that the state uses for certifying the compliance of the comprehensive plan with the growth law. But it's pretty extensive.
Yeah.
And some of the questions that they have are not questions to us, but questions to our neighboring communities. They wanted to see if we coordinated our comprehensive plan with them, and so it's not just a question of going through and marking it up, you know, it's a big mess.
it looks to me, Bob, as if redoing the comprehensive plan does involve hiring somebody like Market Decisions.
Market Decisions or somebody, or Southern Region Planning, didn't they develop it originally?
This is Market Decisions did it, but
I think if you go into the writing there, says that Southern Region Planning Commission developed the first one, and then there was a couple of updates by Market Decisions.
it seems to me that what makes it beyond our ability is the amount of, survey work.
Yeah.
I would not know how to ask the questions.
No, it's an intensive research, and
Yes.
and it's going to be intensively reviewed.
So that would involve you telling us about money.
Well, like I said, I don't know what money's gonna cost, but, we will put it in the budget, because I think it's something we need to do. Because right now, our, growth ordinance is exposed to a lawsuit, somebody wants to go challenge it. We don't need to advertise that, but,
Right, well, I will, Lee J. Feldman,
yeah.
I will contact Lee J. At the Southern Maine Planning and Development Corporation, land use ordinance and the, comprehensive plan. And one of the things I will ask them about the comprehensive plan is whether, that's something, reviewing it, updating it is something that they do, or something that they do in concert with market decisions. What is the sense of market decisions as a competitor in this regard?
I have no idea. It does say that we started, by using Southern Maine Regional Planning in, 74, and then we went to, in 86, we used, market decision.
Well,
So, maybe we are competitive.
yeah, I would, given that this is, 40 years ago, and there's an entirely cast of characters, I would think that Southern Maine Planning and Development Corporation has probably come a long way in terms of their capabilities. So, one of the questions that I'll ask them is, have they reviewed and updated any municipalities' comprehensive plans, and is that in their wheelhouse? If it is, I think it would be good to get an idea of their capabilities and the time and cost for that from them. If it is not, we can go to market decisions, because if they're going to be working on our land use ordinance, we may be able to get some economies of scale in terms of the work and the cost thereof if they're working on our land use ordinance and the comprehensive plan, not to mention synergy between the two.
Yep. I think you still want to have some input from the planning board on that, though. Because nobody knows the town better than you do yourself.
Well, they have to.
Yeah, I would think that after we make the initial contact and see what their timing and capabilities are, that, and what the cost would be, if it isn't, typical, here's the approval, go and do it. It would be something where there would be working sessions where we may even have to have a separate planning board working session with Lee or SMPDC folks.
Or a Zoom meeting or something.
Zoom meeting, yeah, but it will be there's got to be some interchange and back and forth.
If you look at the law, again, municipalities and growth management, it says, as long as there is a broad range of opportunities for public comment, review, and process. Yeah, it's very important, and it emphasizes it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Did you read the names of the people on this committee?
I did.
And,
It's pretty dry reading on some of that stuff in there.
yeah, but I mean, it's just, people who are not involved in town affairs anymore.
Yeah. A lot of them.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
When amending and
Lawrence Swan's name is on there.
Yep.
Lynn Dodd's name is on there.
Yep.
No, it looked to me like they had a pretty well rounded out, a bunch of people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or a lot of opinions and stuff. I just wonder how much they used them.
So, yes,
Yeah. That might be interesting to see if there's anybody, one or two, three people who went through this before who might be willing to be involved another time. I mean, Warren Swan, certainly, he's not too old to be involved, and, I don't know about Connie and Dean Wood. I don't know if they'd be interested in doing this kind of thing.
Who's that now?
Connie and Dean Wood. Connie Wood and, Connie's got moving down anymore.
Yeah, she's over at Parsonsfield now.
What?
She's in Parsonsfield.
Yeah, so Dean Wood.
Yep.
Sheila Terrio, Nelson Senior, Jerry Giroux is retired from being interested in very much beyond.
I'm trying to think about last year, Cornish did a little rewriting of the ordinance. And they had, I mean, I think this was Southern Maine. And what they would do, they'd sit down and make changes, rewrite things. And then they'd have a session where they'd have the person come in to review it. And sometimes that person would even take that part home and do a little homework on it. And I think it was more to make sure that the wording was correct or didn't have any conflict with the state laws.
Yeah.
And so that's about the mechanics how it works. I think they budgeted $2,500 to do it.
Okay. That's certainly not affordable, but one of the things that probably would be good to do, I would suggest, is that I'll make the first contact with BJ Feldman. But then, here's a cool idea. What if we schedule a joint session of the selectmen and the planning board with BJ Feldman to come and, dialogue with us on the process for updating the plan?
And how about the kids with? What?
I don't know how much of it exists anymore.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's one of the reasons I said it. There's some towns where that's the power. That is the power behind land decisions.
Would a Tuesday night that is a working session for the selectmen work as a time and place for a joint meeting? Okay. All right. I'll talk to Luke and we'll try to push it forward that way. Okay. All right. Couple more things. Minutes. I just sent out the minutes that I was responsible for. Joe, do you know which one you have to do?
There are two. I get that, and I think I know who the rough draft is.
Okay, so you can take care of those. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back and watch the beginning of each, meeting in, July, August, and September, and make sure we identify, if David's not here, then it's you, and I want to specify those dates so I can ask David to take care of those minutes, because we need to get up to date on those, because I got a reminder from Danielle.
She's getting hammered from the outside.
I know, and it's not fair for us to not, have our things filed and published, so that people are going to hear for it, so we're going to get caught up. And I know I said this at the beginning, but I'm going to tell David this too, that I think our minutes can be a lot easier. I think you just take the, agenda and say this was discussed, and then the only thing that needs to really be in the minutes is if there are any agreements, action items, or votes. Focus on the decisions and, that sort of stuff, rather than minutes no longer have to be a discourse of everything that was discussed, because that exists on the video. So the minutes, can be more kind of black and white, cut and dry, and, focus on, things that have to be recorded for posterity. Joe pointed out to me is that, in current years, the, planning board filing protocol suffers in comparison to the, filing that existed for subdivisions and CUPs, in past years. I don't think that we have, file folders on the CUPs for, any of the, solar farms, except maybe for the first one at my edit, I don't even know if that's there. And, I also don't know that we have file folders in there for, all of the subdivisions that we've approved lately. And, you know, they are important because when we ran into this issue with Firefly Ridge, I went into the, filing cabinets and subdivisions, and right there were 2 folders of everything that we needed to clarify the situation for Firefly Ridge. And as a planning board now, we are not, you know, we're not documenting our activities and approvals to that standard. So the suggestion is that we have a, filing protocol for CUPs and subdivisions. And, I guess I should talk with Danielle about this, but the idea is that, say for a solar farm, you just have a hard copy of the, CUP form that's signed, and then all of the documents that are submitted, electronically, and you know, if anything's in hard copy, you can stick it in there, but electronically, we need to have all of those supporting documents burned onto a CD. You burn them onto a CD, the CD goes in the file. You know, it provides a record of everything, and it also takes up a lot less space.
Or some drive.
CDs on drive, absolutely, yes, just some kind of, electronic, record.
I just had a lot of controversy about the ability of a CD or a thumb drive for that matter. That's why paper's the gold standard still.
I agree. I've been, through the years,
Trying to watch VHS tape anymore, right?
yeah, through the years, I have been made aware again and again and again of the storage of our records not being secure. And the problem has been, you know, whether it's paper or a CD or whatever, it's like, oh, I need to research that, let me take a look at it. And then you go to the bathroom and I pack up my things and walk out the building and there goes our record. And to me, this was something that in the first 10 or 15 years I was on the board, we were just fanatical about. And because we were fanatical, we didn't lose stuff. But it was a really serious problem. We've lost the first 9 or 10 CUPs. They're gone. We have a record that we gave them out, but we don't have them. They disappeared in this way. We had all paper copies, and the chairman of the board and the secretary had a key, and no one else. That was another way, just the damn security of the stuff, because it's just, we're a small town. Bob wants something, I know Bob, sure. You know, and Bob knows he's honest, and so he takes it home because, you know, I'm closing up, and, you know, just easier to take it home, and then.
I still have a Firefly file at home in a shopping center.
There you go, be like that. You know, and then you lose interest in the board, and then Janet throws them out, you know, because they're cluttering up her house. I mean, so in doing this, please consider security. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Well,
Maybe you start a little bit off, the CD is on drive and paper copy, you know?
Maybe we need to scan in complete sets and store them. Do we have like cloud storage or like, do we have storage, internet storage, like cloud storage files?
I think we do, I think we have permanent
Okay.
storage, and, but if that's what we need, we'll get it, you know, we can do what we need.
Because we could have the sort of a full paper copy and we could have our thumb drive a CD or whatever, but we could have basically an electronic file cabinet logging system with complete records. If you ever had to duplicate it, we could.
Yeah.
I think that David, when he was secretary before, and maybe as chair also, burned everything onto the CD.
Okay.
And from time to time, he gave CDs away. And, you know, I got mine right where I could lay hands on it if I tried for a week or two to find it.
Funny my story about the CD, when I renovated the little house, I took pictures and documented everything, and put all the pictures on the CD, and I put some actual developed photos in a Ziploc baggie and buried it in the wall. And just recently, I had to open that wall up, and I took the CD and everything out, and the CD didn't read while I had the pictures.
Really?
And that's what they say, is that, CDs, depending on the quality, some of them might have 100 years, some of them might have 5 years, so who's longevity? And, you know, try to figure out which it is, I don't know.
well, the file storage makes more sense than permanently stored with the CD.
And then it's locked, and it's secure the cloud, and if we need it, it comes down.
And also like that, you can do a cataloging, so you have an ongoing log and a file and a filing system, and it makes it really easy to find, it's like document management.
So,
It's always read in the cloud, it's not something you actually take out.
we're not,
Make a copy.
this is a wonderful idea. Administratively, we're not set up like
Yeah.
Standish, where the planning board has their own administrative assistant. So is this something that, we can work, with, Danielle on, that, the planning board works with her to set up some kind of, an electronic-based cloud filing system where we'll put stuff in a paper file, but then, you know, we give her a set of electronic files or the link to a set of electronic files and, you know, the cloud-based filing cabinet for the planning.
Yes, all of that, and I think you were going to look for some more file,
Maintain.
some more file cabinet space.
You know, years ago, they used to have this guy come in and certify the cranes once a year. He flew up from Alabama. And when he first started, it took, it was 3-4 days to get the paperwork that I needed. But finally, he went on the laptops and stuff like that, and he got told that he'd come in, he'd certify the cranes, he'd write up his report, press print, it was coming across my printer, right in my office and stuff. I had all this paperwork and stuff like that done before he left. And you might want to look for something like that here,
Okay.
you know, just.
So can we brainstorm about that a little bit more and like come back with some suggestions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I've had experience with a couple of businesses.
You do?
we go from the 19th century all the way to the 21st, we might get whiplash.
Just some money.
I know, that's what we have to figure out. But even if we just talk about it.
It would save you a lot of cost also.
Yes.
Step ourselves there over time.
Well,
No,
run more than 3 bills in a day.
that's it.
So, I'll put the filing protocol for CUP subdivisions, et cetera, and, you know, the cloud storage, as a discussion topic, for our meeting. And, I guess I'll, drop Chantel and there's something that we're talking about and we want to work on with her. But we need to, do it in such a way that, she doesn't run out of the building screaming, because I know when I talk to her sometimes, she is slammed with work, so we need to make sure she understands that it's not something that we're dumping on her, but something that we want to partner with her on, and not, and share the workload.
I guess what I would say is that we should treat this like a bank account and not trust one person to be able to cash the checks.
Yeah. Boy.
You know, I mean, the security thing is so important.
Okay. Anything else, folks?
I move you adjourn.
Second?
I had an email from Caitlin with Walden Six.
Yeah.
Talking about the final CUP, and I said, I mentioned it to you tonight, I see you had a couple of emails from Caitlin.
Yeah, I sent her I had sent it to her and, Paul, and right in that meeting, I sent her a picture of the signed, form, signed CUP form, because after we all signed it, I took a picture of it, and I sent it to them, so they had an image of the signed CUP.
The signature, so eventually they want the whole document.
Yeah.
So I'll just say, it's being worked on, we're inundated with paperwork, I think we can do, but okay.
And that's the plan, exactly like we were talking about here, we have everything that was done for, Baldwin, solar, in electronic files, and, we have an electronic copy of the signed CUP page, and it all just needs to be consolidated into an electronic file, and, that would be, you know, what gets put on the, cloud storage. But here's one problem that I have, and that is that these people, you know, the, Caitlin and, Paradigm and these people, they say, well, we got hard copies of that off to the town. And I have no idea where that stuff is. You know, she says they delivered a hard copy of, their, you know, DEP filing and things like that. I don't know who they delivered it to at the town, and I don't know where it is.
It also goes in the collector's office, and Danielle will put it on one of those counters, so people are gonna look at it. Review. Might go in there and find it, if there's, I think the wall on might still be there.
And I think that's an action item for you, Wes, and for the planning board, when these people deliver things, they need to be delivered to the planning board, or somebody on the planning board, not just dumped in general at the town to